Smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves things is the one who loving?
In a capitalist society, that society is not committed to our wellness, whether it's psycho-spiritual, physical, any of it, because we're disposable. So if we don't take the time to be intentional in our frontistry, right? The frontistorial, I bet that's part of the word too.
It probably is.
Like frontistorial institutions, then we have an issue. And that issue is that we're not taking time to unplug from the cogs, being those cogs in the wheel that make this society run, and it runs us down. If it is true, and even the Centers for Disease Control and lots of the World Health Organization talk about how stress, and that's our everyday grind of stress, causes cancer and high blood pressure, heart disease. It can even exacerbate diabetes, et cetera, right? So when we look at that, what we're thinking is, how do we pull ourselves back from that? But we're not encouraged to do that. We get a certain number of vacation days a year. So our idea of like Labor Day and how do we reset ourselves? It's an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity to reset the way that we're doing things so that we're not as stressed, and we have a built-in self-care mechanism that goes off like a bell that says, you know, if I died today, this place of business would replace me in the next week. You know, they may show up with flowers at my funeral, but then they're going to replace me. And so if we don't prioritize it, no one else will. And that's part of thinking outside of the box, right? So you have Beyonce and Jay-Z giving their children this opportunity to be independently wealthy. Of course, they just are in general. They didn't need to do that, but it's a lesson for the rest of us on why money matters, why resources matter, because we haven't had access to that. We don't think about it until it's too late. We don't think about our time and energy as being those resources. And then we don't give our children and those other people in our lives the room for that relaxation. Right? We're busy taking care of older parents, many of us, and they may not have prepared the way that they could have, or the way that they couldn't even do because they were on a grind, that capitalist grind.
So what, somebody told me, I was like, oh, so I'll talk to you on Monday. And they were like, it's a holiday. And I said, what? It's a holiday.
You were out of the loop.
And also
because you work, you're like me. It means nothing to me.
I'm like, a holiday?
Yeah.
So what? Okay. So we can't meet?
Right. So think about this. The programming of that says, these are the days you can be off. Imagine that. Yes. They're going to tell you when Labor Day is. Right? They're going to tell you can have a 3-day weekend. This is something that the government is going to recognize. Nobody can get you in trouble if you don't come into work. So we are so programmed out that we will program our own vacations around the time when we are off, and extend those days or whatever the case is. And we have got to pull back from thinking about it that way. We really do. We're becoming ill. And we're getting into that loop where we don't even recognize gems. It's pearls. And we're treating it like mud. We're becoming the swine, right?
Oof. 866-801-8255. Dr. Amin, so when do you take time off?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, the devil doesn't take a holiday, so I don't either. We're going neck and neck. And I'm voting for me. But what I will say is, it's in the small things, right? So when I deliberately wake up before anyone in my house, and I don't want to see them, when I wake up. If I see you, it's me and you, we're going to have a problem. But because I wake up before anyone else, that morning time, I once had my great grandmother told me, give yourself the morning. She said, allow yourself the morning, don't allow yourself the morning, meaning allow yourself that time. And nobody's going to give it to you. My family wasn't going to give it to me. I tried for years. They just keep, you know what I mean? So I had to say, you know what? I'm going to need to make that time before they're even conscious. That's a vacation. That morning is the way to reset my nerves every single day. If I'm going on a walk, before I have to get to work or whatever the case, I'm walking to work. It's so that I don't catch a case. I don't want to catch it. I got to take that down because I run high. I run hot. I think you know what it is, Professor Hunter. You run.
I do. I had a situation today and I was like, people don't even know how close they come.
I think they I feel like they do.
Even know. You don't even know. And somebody's like, you got to control yourself. And I was like, there's a point of no return. So what I do is keep myself out of those spaces that, that tweak my temper. Yeah. I just avoid the people and the things, which is why I'm usually unbothered because I've already had the conversation with myself. So if I'm surprised though, that could be the problem. But yeah, we are, yes, we do run hot. Some of us. Yes.
And that's okay. Those are typically the people who are getting things done. And everybody has their job in a village. And the people who run hot need to run hot. Right. So the people who are bringing the water and cooling it down, that's what they do too.
Love those people.
I love, God bless them. I hope nothing ever happens to them.
Please keep the cool water coming.
You help me. But what I will say is this. This capitalist society has dumbed us to the point of we think that we should always just be running hot. And why is that happening is that we're grinding typically for someone else who's not invested in who we are, our well-being, any of it, or anyone else's well-being. We're working for companies that are destroying other people's lives or the environment or whatever. How many times can you say you're working in a capacity where you're doing good, where you're moving the needle forward, you're pushing it forward into the good zone? And so because of that, we don't even have time. Maybe those people don't even have time. I can't even watch this video about Blue Ivy. I got to go ahead and just make a comment. We're taught to move through things so quickly. What happened to the time when we would just sit with our parents and we'd watch Wild Kingdom or something,
Oh my goodness. I remember that. I'm just wondering, I'm not, no disparagement to the parents today, but my father owned a store, as did your dad. Mm-hmm. And he worked 18 hours a day. But I remember sitting with him watching Eye on the Prize, eyes rolled. He would come home for dinner, so we would have dinner together every night. And it was like pork and beans and rice on Tuesday. Wednesday was Chinese food. He loved his shrimp egg foo young. I would get some broccoli. Yeah, like there was, very, very organized, even though I know we were eating very poorly. But I would have to watch Walter Cronkite at 6 o'clock with him. Oh, but I never forget it.
Some parents, especially, I don't want to rag on the dads, but I'm going to do it. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Okay. I'm a grown ass woman. I've experienced. So I'm going to say that people don't understand sometimes that showing up is 99% of the job. So yes, you may not have been eating what whatever.
I look back. Yeah, but he loved it.
But you were being fed spiritually. He was taking the time to spend with you to do that, to watch Gil Noble, I don't know, whatever, right? Like to do these things, it's an investment. Why was he able to invest that time, Professor Hunter?
He also was a parole officer, so he had two jobs. So right, he would go to his job. Yeah. No, I remember one time he was
resources, right? To be able to.
Yes, that's true. That's true. He used to be really tired too. So he would be sleeping, snoring, and I'd be mouthing off to my mother. One time I thought I could get away, she told me to do something. I was like, I ain't doing that or whatever. Oh. Man, did he pretend to be asleep. Yo, I remember that. I was like, oh, I can't even trust when you're sleeping that I can get
He
away
was
with stuff.
asleep,
This is
but you know what
crazy.
happened? He heard your mother, the alarm where your mother was like, "What?"
Woof.
He said, "What?"
Yeah.
And
Cool
he
it, Karen.
Yes, that happened. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I got the shock of my life. I thought I was saying something.
well, this
Yeah.
goes to the idea of how being in a grind, we don't even have that time. That's how these fast food companies came about, and why that in tandem with our stress levels has tanked our health in a really, really horrible way, because we can just drive through the drive through and it's just so much easier to feed the kids. Like, let's go to Chick-fil-A, let's do this. Or, every other day is pizza, or food on your own. It's a eat on your own kind of thing. Whereas many of us had to sit at a table, had a different rhythm. So now that we're here, now that we're at this space where we're recognizing that we're not even seeing what are gems in front of us, this is an opportunity to reevaluate the intentionality of what we're doing. Nobody's saying you have to meditate 20 hours a day. We're just saying be intentional with your time and energy. And in this Labor Day, it's an awesome opportunity to just take stock in that. The cookout, the this and that. Okay. But also, are we just going to keep in that same cycle of consumerism? We go to the store on a holiday. This is what we're supposed to buy. This is what we're supposed to drink. This is what we cook out. We're supposed to, like, how many years are we going to do that? Like, this is an opportunity to take a break. You don't have to show up to that thing, that event. Take a minute, take a beat, and start figuring out how to pull yourself out of this monetization that doesn't actually involve you.
Oh, I love that. And as you were talking, I know I'm going to make somebody feel bad or want to be calling up saying who has time for this. But you reminded me, my dad didn't have a lot of time. He literally had a full-time job and a store that he ran. But I remember him coming home at 6. We watched Walter Cronkite and ate dinner. He carved out 30, 40 minutes every night to watch the news and eat dinner with his family. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And I know a lot of us are busy, but that time is everything, to your point. And
very
it's a little thing.
And if we don't have it, who has it? And this is what Labor Day should be about, is thinking about who has my time. Like, why is it I have no time? And the answer to that is that we live in a very capitalist society. And that doesn't mean not making money or gaining resources. People like to try to make it very black and white like that. It's not. Things cost money in this culture: children, houses, places to live, clothing, whatever you need. It's not a do or don't. What it is how are we working for other people? And we're not doing better for the environment, for our community, for ourselves, ultimately. That's really the question. How can we feel good about who we are on an everyday basis?
Yeah, on Monday we had Sharif Al-Mekki on, and we had a conversation about talking with children, not talking at children. And
absolutely,
how when they come home from school, we got do your homework, do wash your hands, do this, and we got a bunch of orders, but we don't sit in that little bit of time, whether as adults we were playing Scrabble,
the dinner table.
At the dinner table, we were able to have a conversation.
You can feed 2 birds with 1 seed, as I like. Yes. Where you're feeding them, so nobody calls child services that says they hungry. You feeding them, and then you're also hearing about their time, their day, whatever went on with them. So you're getting a twofer. Just sit and have that dinner. It's amazing what will happen. And if your children are grown and out of your house, that's your opportunity to invite them over at least a couple times a week. See if that can happen. Elders who are in your house, have dinner with them.
Oh, I love that.
says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves